Hello, everyone. I'm here with Imam Tawhidi. I'm sorry for not showing my face. My camera just broke down last night. How are you doing, sir?
Good, thank you very much. I hope you're well too.
Yes, and as I was saying, YouTube demonetized the stream before it even began. I have never experienced this before.
Indeed, they must be Islamophobic, as you said earlier.
Yes. So I want to start by reading you something that a subscriber of mine sent. Before we began the interview 2 days ago, I posted on Twitter and asked people if they would want me to tell you or ask you some questions. And a Roman Catholic messaged me and said that he had given up on Islam and thought it needed to be ended. But he saw of you and the way you spoke, and he got some hope back. So you managed to de-radicalize a person, basically. Has this happened often? Did you get this type of messages before?
Thousands.
Really?
Since 2016, there would be in the thousands, in the form of emails, phone calls, fax messages, word of mouth, people I've met face-to-face, Twitter DMs, plenty of people have changed from being 100% happy to see a Muslim die or to see that there's one less Muslim on the planet, to taking the more intellectual approach and seeing that there is hope for change, because change is what is needed on an intellectual level, on an ideological level. You cannot wash blood with blood. And yeah, many people have changed from being very strong in their stance. I'm very happy to see that people are once again depending on intellectual debates rather than violence. And at the end of the day, you know, we complain from Saudi Arabia for butchering people. We complain about Iran for hanging people. So we must not be like them. We shouldn't wish the same for them. So yes, I have come across many people like that.
I see. Was it the other way around? Someone from the Muslim community, perhaps, that was more radical, and because of you, they've managed to claim that they've decided to be more moderate? Perhaps.
Or if you're speaking about Muslims watching me and changing their opinions, they would be much more than what I just mentioned about the non-Muslims. I mean, hundreds of thousands of emails in my inbox. I mean, I show this to police. I show this to journalists. I show this to the media. My laptop is in front of me. And whenever we sit down and they say, when are you going to give up? All I do is I open my inbox and I show them the messages. And I have on my email inbox 4,200 pages if I were to click. And this is if I were to show 100 per page, or 50, I think the max is, I'm not sure. But if I were to max all of the emails, I would have so many open. And this is just the office email, my personal email, my Twitter DM, my foundation, my website contact form. Many, my brother, many Muslims contact me. And also in real life, in person, women who have been sexually abused by their school principal, a Muslim private school. They come to my office, young girls who are taken to the Middle East and then married off. She's 13, she's married off to her 31-year-old cousin. She comes back 5 years later, she's looking for someone to help her. She comes here, she comes to my office. The police know, the government know, intelligence, state intelligence know. They know exactly how much effect we are having. I'm not saying that we are de-radicalizing in the hundreds of thousands, but what I'm saying is in the last 2 years, we've received many emails from people who have been very welcoming of my message. And also, many problems have been solved in the thousands, whether it be in Australia or globally.
So this, what you're saying, is really strange to me, because I have not heard about this from the mainstream media at all. Like, this is the first time I'm actually hearing this from you.
Yeah, you can actually verify this by looking at the extent of threats and the attacks on my person. It's very simple. If I had no influence whatsoever, and if I was a nobody, nobody would care about me at all. I mean, they don't care. You can just leave me to bark like a dog, right? That's how they say, bark like a dog. But they know exactly how serious this is. The government is also aware of bribes and how much money I've been offered. There's a businessman in this very city that I'm in that offered to pay off my home just for me to relocate somewhere else, which didn't make sense to me. Why would you pay off my home and then I have to live somewhere else? In any case, many foolish people approached me. And the problem is, I am someone who talks about everything.
I think they're very scared that other people would follow in your footsteps, that there will be more people like you. And you would be a positive example. So
Perhaps.
You are a scholar who seems to have appeared out of nowhere, calling out the extremism in Islam and advocating for a more moderate form that is compatible with Western societies that are secular. Yet the first thing the mainstream media did was to slander you and try to question your credentials as an imam, claim that your supporters are from the far right, and pretty much poison the well. The first interview that came from the mainstream media, the first editorial that came was from ABC article called Imam Tawhidi, the problem with the media's favorite Muslim. Why do they think they do that? Like, these are not Islamic organizations. These are Westerners that, for instance, in the case of ABC, I understand they're being paid by the taxpayer money from Australia.
You mentioned a few points which I would like to address. Firstly, the idea of me coming out of nowhere is very wrong. I have been preaching on television, on paper, in classrooms, in universities since 2010, in the Middle East, in Canada, and around the world. There was no media coverage because I was not a person of interest at that time. In 2016, I publicly announced the establishment of an organization in Adelaide. And I began working on a diplomatic level, internationally building relations with influential people. I became a person of interest. You see, once you hit the political arena, you become a person of interest. There are many imams who you haven't heard of. Plenty, hundreds of imams in Australia who the people don't know because they're not really active in that field. So I became active on a more public level. And in 2017, I may use the term discovered. I was discovered, and I would like to put it this way, by accident, by a local television program or a journalist. And it took off from there. Once the people saw that I existed, the media requests kept coming, and it never ended, it never stopped. Now, if we take a look at, for example, what you said about me coming, me being a scholar, I'm a third generation Muslim imam. Not only am I a scholar, my father is, and not only is my father, my grandfather is. And before that, we have legends, Arabian legends, such as Hatam al-Ta'i, and Persian prominent poets in my lineage, and prophets such as Noah and Lot. I come from a lineage that's highly prominent, and at the same time, it's a serious responsibility upon my shoulders. What I do in my daily life and the decisions I make, this is a very serious issue. At the same time, the ABC can be forgiven. The ABC can be forgiven because there's not much you expect from them. They haven't come across such a situation before, where a Muslim imam, third generation, ordained publicly, crowned publicly, licensed by tens of grand ayatollahs. I've put on my website a few of them, a few licenses, and the pictures of my ceremony where I'm being ordained publicly, but I didn't put the rest. The police have copies of the rest. The government have copies of the rest of my licenses. And I will not put the rest up because the people who issued them are alive. They're alive. So the people who have who I've published my licenses from, they're people who cannot be touched by the Iranian regime. They can't touch them. Their security is 100% perfect. The other people who issued licenses for me, grand Ayatollah, important people, and who I disagree with as well, no problem, but who certify that I have completed my studies, I will not release these documents, make them public, because they'll go and they'll kill them. They'll kill them or they'll threaten them to withdraw the statements. So I'm here, and I'm not speaking to you from Pluto or Mars or Jupiter. I'm here. I travel to Europe. I travel across Australia. I live half of the year in America and North America. So if someone wants to test my knowledge in Islam, wants to test me on the Quran, wants to test, I'm more than happy to sit down. If I know, I will tell you I know. If I don't know, I'll say I don't know. The problem is, and the problem for them is that I don't speak about anything which I'm not experienced in. Everything I say, I'm an expert in. So I'm happy to be tested by them, by any professor, by any university, debated even. I never run away. I'm always there. And they've tested me on Sunrise, where they brought a leader from Sydney, Dr. Jamal Rifi. And with all due respect, he got rinsed because he thought that I was going to play along with him and act as though terrorism has nothing to do with Islam and everything is beautiful and nice. So I taught him a lesson he will never forget on live TV. So now they know what I'm like. And because they know what I'm like, they will not invite me anymore. I'm open. I'm open. You see, the ABC, and this is one thing I want to say, because you touched on a very important topic with 3 issues. The ABC give everybody a right of reply except Imam Tawhidi.
Wow.
They give everyone. They will bring Hizb al-Tahrir, a jihadist, on a panel, and they did it. They brought a jihadist on a panel, and they had an interview with them, face to face. They will bring people they disagree with from everywhere on earth, from London, anywhere. And they will write about people, and they will call them up and say, listen, what's your opinion? Imam Tawhidi is the only one that the ABC writes about, and they're shivering in fear. They will not call me up and say, hey, listen, we want your opinion about something. Hey, listen, what do you say about this? They will never do it. All they do is cower in fear. And this is why the last few articles that were written, the ABC approached me and I said to them, get lost. I said, now you want to approach? Now you're trying to approach? All this time you've been defaming me, ruining my image. And now you just want to call and think that I'm going to say, yeah, why not? Let's have a coffee together. Come to my office. No, no, no. I don't speak to you anymore. And because of that, the ABC say, oh, look, he doesn't want to speak to us. No, I don't want to speak to you because your audience is shrinking. That's number one. You have a shrinking audience. And number 2, everybody knows what you're like. So why waste time with you? The ABC, number 1, as I said, can be forgiven because they haven't come across such a situation before and they don't know how to handle someone like me. Secondly, they're afraid of me. They're afraid of me like no tomorrow because I am destroying their narrative. I am ruining their paradigm. I'm challenging their claims. You see? And they've been living a lovely life with their narrative for a very long time. All of a sudden, this guy shows up and he's trying to challenge everything. Of course, they're not going to like me. And they hate me. They hate my guts. Look at the way they report. They call me extremist. Yes. The ABC, I'm the extremist, right? You know, and you laugh at them. And this is why the people look at them and look at me, and 100,000 people join my page. 150,000 people follow my Facebook page in 1 year alone. In 1 year alone. No political party, no political organization in Australia has such audience. And I'm not saying that I am the best or I'm a prophet. No. people see the truth, they follow the truth. It's as simple as that.
I'm not laughing. I'm worried for two reasons. Number one, as you said, they are the ABC. They're a tax-paid news program. They shouldn't have a narrative, like you pointed out. They should just report on the facts. Now, I know a lot of my audience are used to the mainstream media having a narrative, but it's not how the way of things should go. And secondly, when I say that you're a scholar who seems to have appeared out of nowhere, I was quoting from the ABC article. Like they have initially, the first moment they saw you, they started hurling these insults.
I know, it shows their level of journalism. If I don't know you and I see you for the first time, I'll give you a call. Where were you preaching before? Right? Yeah. What mosque did you grow up in? Which school did you study in? Right? Yeah. Nothing. They went to a terrorist organization, not the ABC, but their sources provided them with a statement against me from a terrorist organization in Iran that said Tawhidi dropped out from us. And they're using it against me. I'm happy that I dropped out and I withdrew myself from such a radical extremist institute. You should be happy. You should be happy. But no, they're saying, no, Imam Tawhidi dropped out. From where did I drop out? I dropped out of a university once I noticed that they were trying to radicalize me, turn me into a Hezbollah militant style cleric, a missionary for them. The best decision I made in my life was dropping out of a university that wanted to turn me into a jihadist. And I will never shy away from that.
So you made the statement that regarding Islam and terrorism, and I seem to notice, looking at the terrorist attacks within recent years in Europe, the overwhelming, if not all of them, maybe there are some others that I couldn't find, they're committed by Sunni Muslims. Now, we know there's other denominations like Shias, for instance, and I understand they usually commit terrorism within the Middle East. I couldn't find any case in Europe. We know that there are Kurdish Muslims and many other denominations. Can you pinpoint some correlation? Like, why would the Sunnis be more inclined to do these things in Europe, and why would the Shiites do them in the Middle East?
The Sunnis make up of over 90% of the Islamic religion. Excuse me, I lost. Yeah. The Sunnis make up of over 90% of the religion. Some argue, some say 85%. The point is, it's the overwhelming majority of people. So clearly, most of the news and most of the events will be about them because they're the majority. And also, Sunni Islam is more organized when it comes to militant Islam. So the majority of terrorist organizations are Sunni Muslim. The majority, Al-Qaeda, ISIS, they're all Sunni Muslim. The majority of terrorist organizations, Hizb ut-Tahrir, so on and so forth, they're all Sunni. Sunni, but differ in their schools of thought. And because the majority are Sunni, Islam, the majority have a problem. So clearly they're going to make headlines. That's not to say that Shia Islam doesn't have a problem. Shia Islam also has a problem. Shia Islam also has terrorism. Shia Islam also has terrorism in Europe. For example, the Iranian regime currently had a diplomat that tried to undertake a terrorist attack in Austria. Another incident just took place in France, where an Iranian government official was caught trying to blow up the MEK conference for the Iranian opposition. And you know, it's Hezbollah and their terrorism around the world, and their drug trafficking around the world, and their kidnapping of opposition. So we have Hezbollah who are terrorists, the Iranian regime who are terrorists, their allies in Yemen, who are, Iran is like an octopus, okay, with terrorist organizations everywhere, in Nigeria, the Zakzaki movement, everywhere you go, in Iraq. Now we have Christians being shot and killed for being models and gay and so on in Iraq. Who's behind all of this? Shia terrorism, Iran and the Islamic Republic of Iran. So just because the Sunni Muslims are the majority does not mean that we overlook what's happening when it comes to Shia Islam. No, Shia Islam, Shia Islamism, the militant form and schools of thought and ideologies of Shia Islam can in fact be even more dangerous than Sunni Islam. More dangerous.
Thank you for clearing that up, because this was a question that a lot of people wanted me to ask of you. Now, from my understanding of Islam, unlike the Bible and the Torah, when you have things contradicting themselves, in the case of the Bible, it's going to be the priests that are going to decide which is the religious dogma regarding that contradiction. But as I understand with the Quran, it is a clear way of how to interpret it. It's chronological. So I guess the older verses, the older verses would be the ones that are to be taken.
It's not chronological. The Quran is not chronological.
Okay, so how do you do when you have a discrepancy in the Quran? Like if, let's say, you have one verse that says something and then the other would say something else?
There's no problem. It's a book of religion. It's going to contradict itself based on circumstances, based on philosophy of revelation, based on events, based on situations, based on giving examples. It does not intend to contradict itself. Like all books, they do not intend to contradict themselves, but situations occur where things change and it appears to be, it appears as though it's a contradiction. But at that very time, what you read now as a contradiction was in fact a solution for a specific situation of that very era.
I see. That makes sense. And
don't forget, the Quran was compiled by the caliphs. The Quran was compiled by the caliphs, and the caliphs are terrorists. Our caliphs are terrorists. The fathers-in-law of Prophet Muhammad, terrorists. And between brackets, because it's the first time I say this publicly, fathers-in-law of Prophet Muhammad were terrorists. One guy said to me, why don't you care about Prophet Muhammad's fathers-in-law? And I said, I'm divorced, and part of the reason is that I couldn't care less about my own father-in-law, let alone the fathers-in-law of Prophet Muhammad. Anyway.
Right, so it seems that if, as you're pointing out, that they're terrorists, you have a insurmountable task in front of you to try to moderate religion like that. How do you go on accomplishing it? I mean,
I do not want to reform Islam. Who said I'm trying to reform Islam?
Oh, the media is saying you're trying to reform Islam.
The media are off the hook. The media have their own world they're living in. They look at me, they read reformist, so they think he's going to reform Islam. Islam will never be reformed. Whoever tells you Islam will be reformed is either lying or arrogant, or just enjoying the funding and money, like the Muslim reform movement in America, right?
Yes,
like
I've heard of them.
Yeah, Islam will never be reformed as a religion because Muslims only believe in what God sends, and a reformed Islam will be a man-made Islam. And a man-made Islam has no room in any mosque. I believe in reforming Muslim individuals. Muslim individuals can be reformed. Muslim individuals can be peaceful. They can integrate, they can assimilate. Look at, for example, Rahil Raza. Look at Asra Nu'mani. Look at Majid Nawaz. Look at the people just like them. A Muslim can integrate, can be a man of peace, can turn around and say all of our leaders were terrorists and they should be condemned. A Muslim can be like that, but Islam cannot. Islam will never change. You cannot change the Quran. You cannot change the Hadith. You can't do any of that. Whoever tells you we will do that is lying to you. They're lying, and they're a waste of time, and they are part of the problem, and they are also an obstacle in the path of getting rid of the problem. That we say, come, let's point out the issues. They say, no. Let's bring back the Islam that existed in Mecca and Medina. That's a good Islam. Get out of it. Don't waste my time. Don't waste my time, please. How old are you? Look at them, honestly. Look at them. How old are they? 50 years old. 50 years. How long are you going to live? For another 50 years, if you're lucky. If you're lucky, you'll live for 100 years. Do you really think Islam is going to be reformed in 50 years? Do you really think so? Are you wasting my time? Don't waste my time. 50 years can be invested in working on Muslim communities by making use of the good values we have in the West. Freedom of speech, security, freedom of the press, freedom of expression. Use these tools and great values to change the mindset of the Muslim individual, not the religion. Leave the religion alone. If you change the Muslims, automatically the religious institutions will be cornered. They have nobody to preach to but themselves. They'll go extinct in a matter of several hundred years.
It's really great that you said this, because I couldn't find anything you said anywhere else on the internet. Most people that want to have a more moderate form of Islam always talk about reform and changing it, and you just put it in a very interesting way. Now, this is just a personal observation of mine, but when a quote-unquote Islamophobe has issues with Islam, all the time that I have heard, it's not because of the supernatural aspects of Islam regarding the existence of jinns or angel or the theological disagreements between Islam and Christendom. It's the political aspects of Islam, mostly in regards to Sharia law, which takes the religion from a personal matter and transforms it into a system of government, a constitution, if you will, under which the nation is to be run. And while we can criticize capitalism, socialism, feudalism, or any other form of government that humanity had in the past, or in the present, we can't criticize this particular one because people will be branded as an Islamophobe.
Who cares? Who cares?
Well,
who cares?
It has social consequences. You can get fired. You can get smeared by the mainstream media. Like in your case, you can get people that are trying to harm you or your family. So I guess those people care.
You see, this here is where we need to understand what exactly is going on. Islamophobia does not exist. Islamophobia as a concept or even as a theory does not exist. Phobia means irrational fear. Nobody is afraid of Islam as a religion sitting in a book. Okay? If I put a Quran in front of you, will you start to fear? Will you run away from me? No, it's just a book, right? Like any other book. No one is afraid of Islam as a religion. People are afraid of Muslim individuals who are extremists and who are Islamists, who have this ideology of militancy and wanting to go out and imposing Sharia law on people. People are afraid of that. And that's very logical to fear. If I sit with you and we're having a conversation and ISIS is coming at us, okay, and you tell me that you're not afraid of anything, I'll tell you to go see a doctor. People who are not afraid of ISIS should see a doctor. And between brackets, I was in Iraq when ISIS took over in 2014. I was living and studying there. I was married, living and studying in Iraq. So I know the situation. I have family members killed by Iraq, in Iraq by ISIS. So this whole notion of Islamophobia is a political game. It's a political game, and it only works in societies where people are weak-minded, morally and intellectually bankrupt. You know, and I have many friends who are Islamophobes. No problem. Yeah, no problem at all. I sit with people who despise Islam and extremists and the moderates, and they would sit with me for dialogue, but I don't consider them to be Islamophobes. They are considered Islamophobes, but I don't consider them to be Islamophobes because Islamophobia doesn't exist. Doesn't exist. And instead of you telling people, or you as in the people, instead of us telling the people, hey, listen, I'm not an Islamophobe, I just fear ISIS. No, we should work on telling them that Islamophobia does not exist. Doesn't exist. If something doesn't exist, you cannot debate it. In fact, the people who pushed for the Islamophobia terminology came out in recent years, I think it was last year or the year before, and they regretted doing such a thing. There is an entire article on how people who pushed for this Islamophobia concept are now regretful about their actions.
And it's a hate crime in the UK. If you tweet Islamophobic things, you can go to jail.
I know. I have a report here. Someone sent it to my office where it can get you 7 years in prison.
Horrible.
If you say something, it was a proposal, law proposed for hate speech, 7 years, up to 7 years in prison.
Unbelievable. This is a Western nation that did this. So as you mentioned, it's about the individual Muslim. And this is very interesting that you brought it up, because the strategy for Islamic cultural action outside the Islamic world at the Islamic Summit Conference in November 2000 in the state of Qatar, notice the problem you are talking about, but in reverse. They noticed that Muslims in Western Europe are becoming more secular, if you will. Islam becomes a more personal matter.
I'll interrupt you. Who's talking? Who are you quoting?
So the strategy for Islamic cultural action outside the Islamic world, adopted by the 9th Islamic Summit Conference at Doha, State of Qatar, November 2000.
In Qatar?
Yes.
Qatar is the biggest funder of terrorism. They have no right to speak.
But I want to.
The biggest terrorists on the face of the earth. They're the last ones to speak about terrorism.
I agree, which is why this is interesting, because they looked at the West and they noticed that Muslims in the West are integrating. They noticed that Islam is becoming a personal rather than a collective religion. And they say this in what they write. The secular trend of Western societies, the constitution of Western societies was inspired by certain principles emanating from the individual development of those societies, such as their secular and materialistic tendency. Although the positivist philosophy and the heretic trend have now weakened in the West, there is still a strong tendency whose goal is to eliminate holiness from everything, reducing religion to a simple personal issue. The Muslim growing in those secular societies are likely to be subject to the effect of secular and positivist tendencies, either through schooling, information, technology, or through their interaction with their environment. Therefore, the strategy for the Islamic cultural action outside the Islamic world should meet the needs of the young Muslims as to safeguard his identity against disintegration and preserving his cultural specifically, implementing thereby the right to be different, which has become an important constituent in human rights, and consolidating cultural diversity, which has now become a basic principle of international law based on the UN Charter. So they're actually talking about how to do the opposite of what you're doing. They want Muslims to separate from society and have their own cultural identity rather than to integrate. And this was done in the year 2000, in November 2000. Oh, I think we lost the Imam. There might be a connection problem. Let me see. Oh, okay. The line dropped. Let me just give him the link again. Sorry, chat. We're experiencing a couple of technical difficulties here.
Hello.
Ah, there we go. Did you manage to get any of that?
Everything just disappeared.
Oh, I'm sorry. So basically, this organization, the summit, was talking about doing the opposite of what you're doing. They were talking about getting the members of the Islamic community to segregate and to adopt a different culture than the nations they're in. So my question is, why are then Western nations allowing foreign Islamic states to sponsor mosques on their territories so they can encourage this segregation to happen?
The state doesn't allow people to fund mosques on its soil. Political parties allow. A big difference. politicians allow. The state itself, if we want to be very realistic, yeah, the real government is the intelligence services, is the police. They are the ones who run the country. They are the ones who protect the country. They are the ones who have the authority to put any politician in prison. They are the ones. It's the law. The law is what governs the country, not any politician. The law doesn't allow people to infiltrate and to spread terrorism and terrorist ideologies. But these political parties have a way. They always have a way to do things within the law. And this is exactly how extremists spread. They do things within the law. Hizb ut-Tahrir, we have in Sydney 400 people. The police do everything they can. They have over 400 all under watch. But it's up to the politicians to ban such an organization. But they won't ban it because they are within the law. You see, sometimes the state doesn't do something, but there's always a way for other people to do that very same thing and to stay within the law. So, for example, funding of schools can be cut. We can stop Saudi Arabia from funding schools, but we can never stop them from gifting gold to politicians, from gifting very expensive gifts to certain people and certain schools. The gifts can then be sold and they take the money. No problem. For example, what country are we? Turkey, for example. If Turkey wants to send money to a specific cleric sitting in Austria and they don't want to be caught red-handed by the government, so what they do is they tell the cleric to publish a book. The cleric publishes the book, he puts it on Amazon, Turkey buys 1 million copies, he makes his money, then another transaction is made. You see, when we sit with intelligence services, intelligence departments and agencies, we tell them these things, they go, whoa. You know?
Yeah, no, even I as an Eastern European am mind blown by what you just said.
You have women coming in from the Middle East. I'm a tourist with golden bangles from here to here. When she leaves, the gold isn't with her because she's gifting them around. You can just walk into cash converters or any store and swap it for money, right? Yeah. And it's like in Canada, in America, everywhere. There's always a way for them to fund and to spread their ideology. So what Qatar says is not important. Qatar is not important. Qatar is nobody. What they say is irrelevant. They are nobody. They're a bunch of crackheads.
So I would like to tell you the Romanian system that we have in place to deal with radical Islam, and I'm curious if you approve of it or not, because I think it's unique in the world. Romania was a nation occupied by the Ottoman Empire for hundreds of years. And during that time, a lot of Muslims who didn't like the radical version that was in the Ottoman Empire left and moved to Romania in an area called Dobrogea. Now, during the independence war from the Ottoman Empire, which is world-renowned as the Russo-Ottoman War, Romania was going to conquer Dobrogea. And the Muslim community there said that instead of conquering us, we will join you in your fight against the Ottoman Empire. We will send troops, but we want to practice our religion once the war is over, and we want Romanian citizenship. So they made a deal with the Romanian government at the time. They managed to get their independence from the Ottoman Empire. And the Romanian king at the time, Carol I, built the first Romanian mosque built by Romanian hands and allowed the Muslims to practice their faith with only one condition. They will elect their own mufti from within their community, but it has to be vetoed by the king. So he would just look at the candidates, and if he didn't like one of them, he would say, no, you need to pick another one. And the system remained to the present. And recently, the Grand Mufti of Romania actually outed a couple of imams from Saudi, that he claimed that they have been indoctrinated in a very violent religion. He also denounced all terrorist attacks within Europe. And despite the fact that there is a concentrated Muslim population in Dobroja, they have never caused any problems to any Romanians. We view them as our equal. We view them like any Romanian brother. And I understand the Ukraine would want to copy a similar system. Do you view it as an infringement on religion? Do you view it as an infringement of human rights? Or do you think it would be a system that would be worth considering?
There are certain, because I'm someone who believes in things in a very realistic way. I need to be realistic. What we like and what we have to deal with are two different things. Firstly, the Muslim community will always exist in Romania. There is no way you can change that. They will always exist. Secondly, I am against having muftis in non-Muslim countries. Do you see where I'm going?
Yeah.
So firstly, Muslims will exist, but there is no mufti needed. Only the law, only the constitution. No other authority is needed. Muslims need to understand that in Australia, in America, in Romania, everywhere you go. So there is no mufti needed in the West. Because the mufti in the West is nothing but problems. There is not one mufti that doesn't give you problems, because their mentality is very different. And Australia can speak and give you a good example of what muftis have been doing in Australia. The first mufti called women cat meat, called Australian women cat meat, because they are being raped, and he sided with the rapist against the lady. He blamed the lady for uncovering her body, right? The second mufti said Osama bin Laden is not responsible for 9/11. The third mufti, he says the West gives us only diseases. Okay? He's the current mufti now. To me, they're dictators. They're dictators. They're in for the money. They're in for the halal income, and they're nonsense. We don't need muftis. So for the king to say that you should have a mufti, this is the biggest mistake he made in his life, in my opinion. The biggest mistake. Why are you a king for? If you're the king, then that's it. They should listen to you. If you're the government, then they will listen to you. If you give them the room to elect their own mufti, then the mufti has the authority to make them change against you. So there is no Islamic leadership in a non-Islamic government. It should not be there at all. Mufti belongs in Saudi Arabia, belongs in Iran. It doesn't belong in anywhere, especially in Christian countries. Should not never have them. And I made a statement in 2017. I said that if you want to prove that your mufti and your council that appoints the mufti are open-minded, then you should appoint a female mufti. You want yes, female mufti. Show us a change. But they don't listen to these people. The entire Muslim governing body in the West do not include women. They don't include women. Take a look at the one in Australia. 250 men, not one lady. The point is, include women. We have a module, right? This is a module that exists in every country. The same scenario. Muslims assisting the government against certain Muslims in order for certain benefits, right? And usually the government becomes very submissive. In such a scenario, the government has no experience. Okay, so now there are good Muslims who want to join us. Come join us, come join us. Now, the problem is the good Muslim can also be accompanied by a bad Muslim. You can have radical Muslims who say, look, we will join you against another type of Muslim. You see, an extremist Muslim fighting an extremist Muslim doesn't make this Muslim a good Muslim, right? Maybe the army and the king were seen like a tool, for them to use against the other extremist community. There is really no guarantee that these people will give you loyalty. Never at all. I'm not saying all Muslims are in that scenario are bad. What I'm saying is their demands were not appropriate. You don't demand from a king to give you authority over a certain group of people within his own kingdom. It doesn't work like that. It's either he's the king and they listen to him, or he's not the king. A mufti might be seen as though he is just a community figure. He's not a community figure. A mufti is an authority. A mufti is someone very powerful. In Australia, the election time, all of them go to the mufti.
Oh my God, I didn't know that. I genuinely did not know that.
The pictures are online because he has authority. Never have a mufti in your country. Never do it.
Yeah, see, this is what I like about having you here, because a lot of us non-Muslims, we don't know about these things. That, for example, as you pointed out, like the mufti is above the king, like he is the authority that challenges the government.
That's his job.
Please,
his job is to challenge the government.
Please never suggest a female mufti before, because Linda Sarsour as a mufti would be a scary thought.
Linda Sarsour
as a mufti, she would be scary.
In any case, she is one corrupt individual. Well-trained, well-funded, and corrupt. Linda Sarsour.
I know. She diverted money from charities, as I recall. She also told a woman that suffered female genital mutilation that she doesn't deserve her vagina. From charities, as I recall, there's something not right when it comes to reading about that lady. Female genital mutilation that she doesn't deserve.
Not her not being right. She's 100% right, because that's how Islamists are like. That's how they're like. She's perfect. She's the perfect model for an Islamist. Perfect model for an extremist. That's how they are. That's how they are. That's the perfect image for an extremist Muslim. She's 100% right. This is her ideology. And we should thank Linda Sarsour for showing us her true ideology, her true manners, her true ethics. Because many of them, they try to hide it. Linda doesn't.
So I noticed a brand new type of Muslim in the West, the progressive Muslim. I like to call them the cosplaying Muslims. It's usually very wealthy, like middle class, sometimes news reporters or famous people that would just put on a hijab. They also put a ton of makeup that, in my opinion, goes in contradiction with the idea of the hijab, which is supposed to give you modesty. And they go around, claiming victimhood and pretending they're a victim because they chose to convert to Islam. And do you view this as the Western progressive ideology corrupting the Islamic faith?
Makeup is not progressive. Makeup is you know when Prince Harry got married to Meghan?
Yes.
Did she have any makeup on?
I think so, yeah.
She hardly had any makeup on. If you look at her wedding photos, she hardly had any makeup on, right? Makeup is not I would like to call it the scale of measurement as to whether someone is progressive or non-progressive, right? Meghan didn't have makeup on as much as Arabic women would have, Muslim women would have in their weddings, right? Or even extremist women have under the burqa. Makeup doesn't mean you are progressive. It just means you're non-religious. That's what it means. And being non-religious does not mean that you are not an extremist in your ideology, right? We have many atheists in the Middle East who will wish death upon America and death upon Israel. And they're non-religious. They have no religion at all. But they still want to see Israel annihilated, still want to see the West destroyed. So yeah. I don't think makeup is what determines whether someone is an open-minded person or not.
No, but I mean the idea of progressive people that can't respond to what the 5 pillars of Islam are, but they're still considering themselves Muslims just to get victim points. And my question is, like, do you view the progressive ideology sinking into Islam, trying to corrupt the Islamic faith, if you will?
No ideology comes from the West can corrupt anything. Which ideologies come? I don't understand. Freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of criticism, blasphemy. I don't understand. Which ones are the ideologies that corrupt society? I don't understand. Which one?
The progressive ideology, for example, corrupted the Catholic Church. And by progressiveness, I don't mean freedom of speech. It's quite the opposite. The idea of hate speech comes from the progressives. They're the ones that say, well, you shouldn't say this or that because it's hate speech. The idea of
modern liberals.
Yes, that's exactly
what. Classical liberal is nothing like that. The real Tommy Robinson is a liberal, by the way.
I know.
He's a liberal. So many people tend to mix up the modern liberals with the previous classical liberals. Freedom of speech the whole notion of hate speech and no freedom of speech imposed by the West in the guise of being progressive, and then infiltrating the Muslim community is not a threat, because the Muslim community doesn't believe in free speech, and these liberals don't believe in free speech. So they both cry from hate speech, both of them. You say anything, they'll cry hate speech. So they go hand in hand. They are best friends. There is nothing that comes from the left and the far left that is not welcomed by the Islamic extremists. Nothing. Every jihadi will vote Democrat. Every extremist will vote Democrat.
That is a scary thought. Now, I don't want to keep you anymore because
I'm not imagining this. Take a look at every Muslim area in your country, in the West. Every Muslim country, so every Muslim city, every Muslim neighborhood. In Lakemba, the MP for Lakemba, his name is Jihad.
Oh my God.
Okay, MP Jihad. We have him. You take a look at it. All of them, all of these people, they will vote a specific brand that sits well with their ideology. All of these people.
Right.
They love Hillary. In America, they love Hillary Clinton.
I don't want to keep you more because I know you have the prayer to do. So before we end this, I want to ask you one question that surprisingly a lot of my female subscribers wanted me to ask you. And the question is if you're married. And I want to know, how do you manage every time I see you in public, you have all these beautiful women coming up towards you, wanting to get your autograph?
Right. I am in a relationship.
Oh, you just made a lot of women sad now.
No, I am in a relationship. I was divorced recently because look, I've written about this in my upcoming book about my divorce. My ex-wife was a really good woman. A really, really good woman. Probably one of the best people I've seen in my life. I have a lot of respect for her until today. Me and her family we left on good terms. I respect her father a lot. There is no conflict between us. The only issue is I became more open-minded, and she comes from a very conservative family, so she had the burqa and everything, and I saw our opinions didn't sit together with each other. In a way, it's my fault. Like I was a fundamentalist, and I slowly began to become more open, call for reform. And my meetings there with Jews and Christians, and this doesn't sit well in the Middle East, right? Which is where I got married in. So we agreed to divorce, and ever since then, the people have been harassing me. I should have joined the Me Too movement.
Oh my God.
I could have, but I did not. But no, I am in a relationship, and the plan is that next year I get married.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
As I said, a lot of girls will be very upset to see this stream. I'm not even kidding. I have 5 different women asking me the same question on Twitter.
I apologize.
Yeah. I'll just go through some really fast super chats so you know what people want me to tell you. Should Australia, I'm proud of your work, Imam. Australia is proud. This is from the Figure 13, a subscriber of mine.
Thank you.
Yeah, Hussein, Imam, what are your views on Tatbir? I don't know how to pronounce these words, I'm sorry. How about the Shirazi Khomeini split? Should Shia await the Mahdi before any actions? And do you kafir? Well, since we don't have enough time, I suppose just one of these questions would be enough.
Oh no, I can answer both. Tatbir is a ritual of self-flagellation, redemptive suffering that some Shia Muslims do. Most of the people I grew up with did it, especially in Iran and Iraq. I don't do it anymore. The last time I did it was around 10 years ago. As for the Shirazi Khomeini split politics, Khomeini is a terrorist, and anyone who goes against him has every right to. Shirazis also believe in Islamic government. They believe in theocracy. They believe in the coming of a savior who will establish an Islamic government, and that's their opinion. You can't be a grand Ayatollah, you can't be an Islamic scholar without believing in an Islamic government such as this. And that's their opinion. They're my teachers, so they used to be my teachers many years ago. And I don't represent them, I'm not their deputy, I am an independent voice. And yeah, that's about it.
An American by the name of Isaac Wardell, mainstream media are moral cowards with a shrinking audience. Stay strong, Imam. You inspire hope for a safer, kinder world in everyone that hears your message.
Thank you.
And now we have someone from Germany. Mr. Tawhidi, big fan of yours. You are a gold jewel in the world. I hope you stay safe. We need Muslims like you who want a reform of Islam. I guess you covered it. This was a message that, yeah.
Very kind of you from Germany. Thank you very much.
Should multiculturalism be bring your culture with you, but where it conflicts with the country's values must take precedent? I think this would help with integration and reduce hate. This is
very quickly, multiculturalism in its essence is a good idea, but doesn't work. One of those good ideas that never work.
Can Imam
there are exceptions, but in general, it doesn't work.
Can Imam Tawhidi explain of false teachings of Muhammad's wife being 9 and she was 20 already with a child? Is this a dichotomy in the faith?
Can you please read it in my upcoming book next month? My book is next month, comes out next month. I drew an entire chart, a diagram just for you to read and see exactly proof that she was 19 or over. She was not 6 or 9. She was 19 or over, or older than 19. Muhammad did not marry a 6-year-old or 9-year-old. And this is a lie because they want to cover up the fact that she was an obscene woman. She slept with half of Arabia.
Oh my God.
And they want to cover this up. And so what they do, they bring her age back and they say he married her when she was 9. No. When she was 9, she was not married. Later on, she got married. She had a child. Okay. And then she left this man and she had fun with half of Arabia. Then she married the Prophet Muhammad. She is not and even after him, she cheated on him. Look, I don't care what women do in their personal lives. That's not my job. My job is do not kill women in Islam because they have a boyfriend and the wife of Muhammad, the daughter of the caliph, is the worst woman Arabia has seen. Don't do this to people. So do not contradict yourself and do not be hypocrites. That's all I'm saying.
And one last question. Where can people find you if they want to hear more about your work? And where can they buy your next book? If you have a link, if you can give it to me on the DMs, I will put it in the description of this video.
I will. You will find everything on imamtawhidi.com or follow me on Twitter. My book will have its own special website, which I will release later on. Just wait for it very soon, very soon.
All right. Thank you, Imam. I really appreciate you taking your time coming here. And I hope you stay safe.
Thank you. Likewise. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for having me.
All right. I will sit here and read some of the other super chats. I'm sorry I had to cut it short, but we had an arrangement for 45 minutes because the Imam has to attend his daily prayer. So let's see what the other super chats I got.
I think we'll end it right there. This has been a bit of a mixed bag in terms of technical success. As you can see at the beginning, if you're not seeing the edited version at the beginning, there was no audio for 18 minutes. So I started again, and also let you know that the Discord room is open. You can always please join the Discord channel. All gods are imaginary. Prove me wrong. That's the name of it. So join in if you ever want to join in the chat. I usually, if I do have a chat planned, I will post the link. But right now, I guess it's just not the right time. For me, it's 11:30 at night, and that's pretty much where I think I'm going to end it. I see no other reason. I don't have anything else lined up. Nobody has made any indication that they would like to have a chat, and so I'm just going to end it right here. I do have this new fancy template going, and I was working and playing around with it, and I do hope to edit the first 18 minutes of this stream. So hopefully you'll miss that. You just have to listen to me at the end, like this. That's the way it is. All right. I'll see you in the next video.